Okay, so are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, alright. Thanks, Rusydi, for having us here.
Right, most welcome.
Okay, let's just get started by how about you tell us like what is it exactly that you do?
Okay, so Reactor is an acronym for the Raffles Entrepreneurship Academy. When the right elements are put together under the right environment, a reaction occurs. So it's sort of like business incubation, but the next level. Yeah, and we're trying to sort of build that entrepreneurial ecosystem here in the high school.
Okay, so like you guys try to engage students, especially at a JC level.
Yeah, correct. It's pretty much helping them to turn their ideas into projects and their projects into companies. Get them to go out there and like build stuff.
Okay, is it only for students or is it like does Reactor actually meddle with like people from outside of school as well?
Right. Let's see. How we work is that we work alongside alumni. To sort of build this ecosystem. So it's not just students. We sort of classify them into like 3 different broad categories. So they're white belters. So those are the current students. Like
white belters. Okay.
Green belts are budding entrepreneurs, undergraduates who are alumni of the school who are already out there doing stuff of their own. And of course you have the black belters who are your established business leaders.
Alright.
So these are sort of the 3 pillars that we have. And what Reactor does is that we bring these pillars together and get them to collaborate across different batches, across different industries, across different startups, and sort of build that ecosystem around it.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So can you just update us on like what are some of the things that Reactor has been up to and will be up to in the next few months, or what's coming up for Reactor?
Right. Okay, so well, the first thing that we've done is that we run this thing called the Business Leaders Program. So it's sort of like the ultimate CEO training program, but for 17-year-olds. So we don't dumb down anything. They learn everything from the methodologies, customer development, marketing, social media management. Customer development.
Okay.
Yeah, social media marketing, the works. Right. We bring them down to learning journeys as well. So they've actually visited Google. They'll be visiting
Google in Singapore.
Yeah, Google Singapore.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's at Google Asia Pac.
Okay.
So that's the first thing that we do. We run this sort of training program. The second thing that we do is that we have an internship portal. So to date, we've sent over 40 young people to intern in various startups, everything from tech to F&B to social enterprise to fashion. So what we do is that we sit down as young people and we ask them, okay, what is it that you want to learn? And we sort of give them that opportunity to do stuff outside of school. Because we realize that very much it could be a vacuum inside school. And to me especially, I think the whole point of education is to be autodidactic. Meaning to say that you should be able to like pick up anything that you want and learn it on your own. So we felt that internships was like sort of the best way to get people to be able to just not just build, but to learn to be autodidactic, to learn how to learn. And yeah, so we've sent like 40 young people. So these are like 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds to intern in various startups. So that has been fun. Yeah. And the third thing that we're doing, which is most recently, is that we have partnered a few universities overseas to set up a student consultancy arm. So we're partnering UIUC, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, Technion in Israel, as well as KTH in Sweden. So
3 countries.
Yeah, 3 different countries. So what we'll be doing is that we'll be consulting for tech startups, and then we'll be rotating. So this semester it's going to be Israel. Next semester it's going to be Singapore, and then the United States and Sweden.
So like 3 countries all at once collaborating to actually
plus
4.
Yeah.
Okay. Collaborating to actually give consultation and help to tech startups.
Correct. Yeah.
In either one of any of these countries.
It's by focus. So each project's around 6 months long, and for the 6 months we'll be, I think it's probably going to be Israeli companies or United States companies. We'll be consulting for them, and then next semester we'll be consulting for Singaporean companies, and then subsequently it will be Swedish companies. Yeah. So it's going to rotate like every 4 months.
So just before we move on to the next question, like what are some like the companies in Singapore itself who are under this program, or like certain startups? Maybe
this
an
is
example,
really new.
perhaps.
This is really new. We just started this like a month back, so we don't have names yet.
Okay.
But when we do, we'll probably put it up on our website. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. So moving on to some questions regarding you and your life, right? So what got you so involved in the whole entrepreneurial scene?
What got me? Okay, that's a hard question. Like what got me started?
Yeah, I mean, you were a student here in RIJC,
Yeah.
right? And then after that there was NS, and like, when was it? When was it the point in time in your life when you actually decided and you figured you actually wanted to do this, and you could contribute a lot in this whole scene? Like, when did it occur to you, or has it always been like from when you were young?
You know, if you're asking about whether there's a definitive moment, not really. No, there hasn't been like one single occasion, but I think it's more like a culmination of several things, the whole of which is taken as greater than the sum of its parts. So what do I mean? Like when I was secondary 3, we started this entrepreneurship student interest group, which apparently like died after a few years, but that was fine.
Hang on.
And then subsequently, we went on to do several things. You know, like even when I was in national service, I got a chance to like work on projects, and that was really fun because I sort of figured that I like building stuff and meeting people. Yeah, so that was in national service, and then subsequently, I did this course in NTU called a minor in entrepreneurship course,
Mm-hmm.
right, and that was really fun. Like one of the courses required us to start a company in 6 months, and we were graded on our profits and operations. And you know, I think for the first time in college, I felt that we were learning stuff that I could actually apply. Right?
What company was this? Like, you said in 6 months, right?
Right. So me and my teammates decided to do something really quick, and we wanted to make money without like zero capital.
Wow. Okay,
Right.
that's a challenge.
No, not exactly. Okay.
It's not.
It's
Okay.
not. It's not. Okay, so that's a separate thing altogether. So we started this t-shirt printing company
Okay.
where we tried to be sort of like threadless of Singapore. So stuff that's very Singaporean based, which
Uh-huh.
you would not find on the threadless store
Uh-huh.
for like reasons
A trellis
otherwise.
has everything.
It doesn't have Singaporean based stuff because I mean, like, you know, Singaporean
things that are more
slang or,
local.
yeah, colloquial stuff.
Oh, okay.
You will never see on threadless.
Ah, right.
Right, because that has a very global engineering thing.
How
We
did,
wanted something
how did that go?
Well, the company is kind of dormant now because we've sort of left and went on our separate ways, and the actor
Okay.
is taking up all my time right now.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was a fun run, and I think during that period of 6 months, we learned a whole bunch of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Stuff like, you know, how do you invoice people? No one tells you or teaches you how to invoice people in class.
Uh-huh, yeah.
And then you realize that, hey, okay, wiring money from your customers to yourself is something that you should be able to do.
Uh-huh.
Right? You know, how do you chase for payments? You know, how do you draft out employment plans and stuff like that? Those things are not taught in class, but you know, are actually necessary to anyone who wants to start up. Yeah.
So Reactor actually brings this whatever uni experience you had in the 6 months, like, and
Oh, definitely.
tries to give
Definitely.
the
It's
students
not just that.
a
It's,
head
it's
start.
like a whole bunch of other things that I've learned
Mhm.
along like the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all those lessons are going to be transposed.
Okay. All right. So next question: what has been the most defining moment in your life?
Most defining moment in life.
Yeah. Just think about it for a bit.
In all honesty, I don't think there's one singular moment.
Okay, among the
Like
few.
okay, so like
you know-
there are a few, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think it is necessary for young co-founders to learn how to hack the system. And when I say hack, I don't mean destroy, but
Uh-huh.
to work around certain things. So let me give you an example. Demo Asia came down to Singapore.
What Asia?
Demo Asia.
Demo Asia.
Demo Asia. So
Okay.
Demo Asia is a startup launch conference that's held 5 times around the year.
Okay.
For the first time, it was brought to Singapore,
Uh-huh.
right, in Asia in particular. So Demo was like, it's this launch conference, so lots of startups pitched to investors and all that. Tickets were like $500, and
Whoa.
I couldn't afford it.
Okay.
So I did the next best thing, and I went to volunteer. So,
Oh.
and they gave me like the best job in the house, which was to take care of all the guest speakers. So all the guest speakers who flew in from overseas were sort of, you know, my responsibility,
Wow.
right?
Uh-huh.
And you know, a lot of people would actually pay to be in my position so that I could talk to like
Uh-huh.
all these investors and
Yeah.
all these guest speakers.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't. I got to attend, you know, the conference, and I got to meet them and stuff like that. And I think, you know, this is pretty much what like my life has been. These opportunities come up. How
Uh-huh.
do you deal with them? And how do you turn these adversities into opportunities?
They were looking for volunteers, or I don't know. Something
It
tells
was
me
it
that
was a
you
two-way
went
thing.
up to
It
you went
was a
up to
two-way
them.
thing. As in, they told me about it like in passing, but I wasn't sure what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, sure, yeah, why not? Let's just see what I can help out with. Right? I think it's important as well that you always try to help first without even asking anything in return,
Mm-hmm.
because everything else just falls into place after that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's really great. When was this, by the way?
Demo was earlier this year. I think it was in February or March.
February or March of
Really early this year.
2012.
Yeah.
Okay. What drives or what inspires you? Like what keeps you going?
Right. Max Mama, right, has this phrase which I really like. He said that the world's biggest problems were that we're not working to solve the world's biggest problems.
The world's biggest problems.
The world's biggest
Biggest
problem
problem
is
is
that we're not solving the world's biggest problems, or there are not enough people solving the world's biggest problems. And I couldn't stand that formal academic education was always so theoretical. It's always done in abstractions. Sure, I mean, academic rigor is good and all that. But like I said, I think the whole point of education, at least in my opinion, is to learn how to be autodidactic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this was another phrase that I'm taking from the provost of NTU, Professor Bertel Anderson. He said very interestingly that there are only two sciences: applied science and not yet applied science.
Not yet applied.
Yeah.
Science.
So the whole point, which is true, right? What's the point of building something or doing something if it's not going to make the world a better place?
Yeah. If it's not going to be applied,
If it's not going to be applied, okay, sure. It's good to have academic abstractions, but it's always better to take those abstractions to see how you can solve the problem. And I think that's what our education system should be geared towards to. So I got frustrated with that because a whole bunch of things that I used to do anyway were always not solving problems. They were always
It's
like
just purely theoretical.
Yeah.
And you didn't see how it was gonna.
exactly like I'm gonna die soon anyway. Everyone's gonna die soon. And the whole point of life is so that you build something that lasts, that leaves a
Changes.
legacy, right?
Yeah.
That lasts beyond your own lifetime.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I was learning wasn't really helping me to do that. So I think entrepreneurship and startups are a great way to basically do the stuff that I like, which is like build stuff and meet people. Right? Yeah. So pretty much.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really awesome. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. What is your take on the entrepreneurial scene in Singapore?
My take. Well, I would say
Just give
that
us a current status.
I think it's exploding.
update. It is exploding.
It is exploding. In the past 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
you've seen a lot of progress made. Sure, we still have a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But my bet is that I think over the next 7 to 8 years, we will have something that would be comparable to a Silicon Valley. I wouldn't say in terms of the scale.
6 to 8 years.
Yeah, probably 6 to
Okay,
8 years. Probably
alright.
by 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason is because not just because of all the infrastructural help that the government is giving, but also because of the amount of talent that is coming in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this paradigm shift between the younger generation and the generation that's before that.
Mm-hmm.
More people are actually open to the whole concept of startups and entrepreneurship. You look at like 5 years ago.
It's a change in mindset.
No, I wouldn't say a broad change in mindset, but I think
Gradual change.
gradual. More people are aware of it. It's not a taboo anymore. People are like. I think it helps that the media has been popularizing.
They're more open to actually considering.
You look at like 5 years ago, when sgentrepreneurs.com just started. Right, it was like the only website in Singapore that was covering startup stuff. Right, and now you have a whole bunch of other sites that are also covering an immense amount of activity. Go to websites like thelist.sg. Whoever says that Singapore does not have a cool entrepreneurial scene has not seen the list.
Mm-hmm.
Thelist.sg gives you like a whole bunch of like free events which are either startup related or design related.
The list. DELIST.
THE, the list.
Oh, the list.
.sg.
Okay.
Yeah.
.sg. All right.
So that's run by my friend Christine Lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been exploding in the past few years, and I think it's starting to pick up pace.
So if anything, it should just serve to boost more support into whatever it is that Reactor is doing.
Definitely, I think what Reactor wants to do is to help with this whole ecosystem building. The reason why we probably don't have a Facebook or Google of our own to call in Singapore is because young people are not exposed to the right things. And what I mean by exposed to the right things, I mean like if your entrepreneurship club is only selling stuff, like selling water bottles outside the canteen. Sure, I mean selling is great, right? But if you want to look at something that's really high tech and has very high impact, you should also be bringing the students down to like tech conferences. You should bring them down to meet other young co-founders who are programming stuff, building stuff. It really helps with this thing which I call social proof. If I see a senior, who's like 3-5 years ahead of me, doing cool stuff, I will feel braver to take that plunge to do cool stuff as well. It's like Inception.
So you guys are trying to pave the way.
I wouldn't say pave the way. We're trying to like perform Inception with these young people in that way, like feed them with ideas and get them excited about it and to see what is possible. Because if you don't know what is possible and you have like no basis of comparison, then you're not likely going to go there.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Alright, so it is exploding, huh? Okay, to your knowledge, what is the most contrasting difference about Singapore's entrepreneurial scene as opposed to other countries?
The most contrasting.
Yeah, like, what is it that makes Singapore's entrepreneurial scene very unique and different compared to others?
Right. I think for one, the infrastructure support in Singapore is really good compared to some other countries. I mean, like, it is really easy to start a business.
Okay.
Right. But I mean, looking in terms of costs, of course, Singapore, would be kind of more expensive compared to other places. Then the other concern that lots of co-founders and entrepreneurs or investors have is that there's not enough deal flow. You have lots of pre-seed money and seed money, but then when it comes to like Series A, there's this chasm there.
People are very risk.
I wouldn't say risk averse. I just think that the ecosystem is not yet that developed. Right. But that's right now. But there are a whole bunch of things that are already in the pipeline, right? That's going to fix this. I mean, I'm looking at entrepreneurial education. Spring, IE, and I think MOE have come out with Education Entrepreneurship Task Force. It's looking into improving the amount of entrepreneurial appreciation of students. IDEA is bringing Singaporean startups for field trips to Silicon Valley to see what it is right there that that they have in their ecosystem that we do not, and a whole bunch of other things. So we're talking about what's the major difference between us and them. I think pretty much it's starting to narrow.
Okay, that's good news.
It's good news because lots of co-founders like from overseas are coming in. Right. I just got an email from this Brazilian entrepreneur who's coming down to Singapore like after Christmas. Right. So he asked me to host it. And I'm like, okay, sure, Brazil, right? People from Brazil, France, pretty much everywhere, Silicon Valley, are coming here to see because they look at Singapore as a really cool springboard for the full Asian market.
That's cool. Yeah. Okay. What in your experience are some of the challenges that entrepreneurs face in trying to found a startup in Singapore?
I think the challenges here are similar to the challenges elsewhere. I think pretty much the first thing would be product market fit. How do you ensure that you're building something that your customers want and you're not building something that they don't want? I mean, any startup, whether it's Singapore or overseas, is going to face that. Well, if you're looking at other challenges, well, there's this argument that's going around saying that Singapore doesn't have enough talent. I don't think that's true. I think that it's a matter of how you're able to bring other people on board your team, right? Because there are two camps. A lot of people are saying that, hey, we're not having enough programmers or IT people who want to like code and do stuff.
Yep.
Right. And on the other hand, they're saying that, hey, we don't have enough good startups that are really exciting enough to attract this top talent. So it's a chicken and egg thing, pretty much. So I don't agree that there's not enough talent. I think that is, and I think that it has to be a two-way thing from both sides. And it's probably going to change for the next few years. Other challenges, I think everyone knows that geographically Singapore is really kind of small. So co-founders here, I think pretty much from day one have always had the thought of building something that can scale. Something that can scale beyond
just the local market.
Yeah, correct. I mean, like if you're gonna like build something for 5 million people, how long can it last, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it keeps them aware. Having a small market keeps them aware that they should internationalize. which is very different from say like a South Korean company.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be building something for the Korean market, and then once they've established that domestic market, they will look, okay, maybe we'll try something and tweak it for Japan, or we'll tweak it maybe for Vietnam, Korea, or whatever. But Singapore, sure, you have stuff that's Singapore centric, but I think it will come sooner or later. It'll come to a time where people say, okay, we need to build something for Singapore. Yeah, so I think that's a challenge, geographical size.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Any productivity hacks for the viewers that you wish to share?
Productivity hacks.
Especially pertaining to time management, seeing how you are a student yourself, but yet you're a co-founder, and I don't know, you've got so many things going on. What are some of the productivity hacks that you think?
Right. So like specifically for students or?
For students, yeah. Okay.
Okay. I mean, if you're looking at productivity hacks in general, I would suggest you guys go to Quora.com.
Quora.
Yeah, QR. It's one of my favorite sites. Just put
it's a
in,
question site.
Yeah, Quora is pretty much Yahoo Answers done right.
If
you ask me. So you could like search, productivity hacks, and you see what other co-founders or other staffs or other people, who are not in the entrepreneurial field are doing in regards to productivity. There's a ton. But if you're talking about students specifically, what I do is that I go to school, but I don't really attend classes. It's possible for me because I'm doing a science course. There's always a right answer in a science course, which is different from like a business course.
Okay, alright.
Right. So I would say go to school, but you probably don't go to classes. Not all of them are useful.
So like lectures and stuff. So you study them yourself?
Yeah, study them myself. I mean, like if the professor is just reading from the slides, and if I can read 3 times faster than what the professor is reading off, I'm also just reading myself, right? And I think it's possible, and I think that's what more young people should do. It should be independent study. I think young Singaporeans in general have this really bad habit with asking for permission. They go like they need to have some form of authority, or consent, right, conferred upon them before they start doing something, which is really antithetical to what entrepreneurship and startups is about. Entrepreneurs and co-founders go out there and get stuff done, whether or not someone gave them the permission.
Lack of initiative also.
Yeah, and okay, so this is a two-pronged thing, right? Initiative is starting something, and discipline is finishing it. And I think we are lacking on both sides. Yeah, because lots of companies die off. Why? Because young people, they start it as a project, and then after a while their interest wanes and the project dies. Right. So where's the discipline in that? Right. Sure, you can start something, but if you don't finish it, then what's the point? Right. Okay. So like other productivity hacks. Let's see. Well, if you're working, I would say probably get a team. I think a team is important.
A team.
Right. Yeah. You can only do everything yourself so far.
Alright.
After that, you will need a team to support you. So it really works to have a really good team that you work with. It does help with productivity tremendously.
So sourcing out for a good team is very essential.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Anything else? Any last productivity hacks that you wish to share with like your viewers?
Just go out there and do something.
That works for you.
Just go out there and do something. Really. A lot of young people ask me, how do you do this stuff that you do? And I'm like, just go out there and do something.
Do it,
yeah, just go out there and do something. And then, it doesn't have to be starting as a company. All you need to do is like work on a project and make sure it sustains. Make sure that it doesn't die.
You see it to the very end.
Yeah, make sure it reaches a point where it just keeps going on itself. I think that's a really good learning experience, right? And that helps with productivity because it's really good to learn from failures, but it's so much better to learn from successes. Really. A lot of people say that you should learn from failures. Yeah, sure, you should, but
then they're totally forgetting the other.
Yeah, it's like a muscle. The more successful you are working on prior projects, the more likely you'll be successful in future projects as well. So work on successes as well as learn from failures, and then just go ahead and do something. A lot of people don't know how to ask. Ask and you shall receive is sort of, I don't know. It's
just muted here.
I wouldn't say muted, but people are not as open to asking. right? And that's weird because opportunities do not present themselves, via text or images. Opportunities always present themselves via people. And if you cannot build rapport with someone, that is going to be really hard for you to not just close deals, but to also talk to people, talk to mentors, talk to prospective clients, talk to possible employees. Yeah, so knowing how to go up to random people and building rapport with them is a really cool practice we have. Because sometimes what we need might just be a phone call away. Yeah, and you don't know if you don't ask, right?
That's true.
So it's that whole dealing with rejection thing and working outside your comfort zone that's important.
Ask.
Yeah, you just ask. I mean,
ask.
what's the worst that can happen?
Okay.
Sure, you get slapped on the wall and no one talks to you, but yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Okay, alright, so we move on to the last question, okay? So, any advice for future leaders or future wannabe entrepreneurs out there?
I would say, some things that I would do is to just volunteer. I think you should learn how to volunteer and do stuff for free. Now, why? Not because that, you shouldn't value your time. You should value your time. But when you do stuff for free, there are no expectations on it, right? And then when you surpass those expectations, that's great. Right? You set the bar low and then you produce something so much higher. It's great. The second thing is because if you're gonna be a co-founder of entrepreneur, you're pretty much not gonna be paid for some time. And if you can't figure out your own lifestyle preferences with a $0 salary for a while, and you can't do things for free, then you might not, really be into entrepreneurship. I would suggest, that you reconsider, right? And finally, doing stuff for free is also fun because it produces so many more opportunities. Just help. I think if there are opportunities that come along and you go hey, could I help you with this? Could I help you with that? You learn so much more as compared to say having other stuff. So volunteering is really important to me. So go volunteer in a startup.
Watch out for opportunities.
Yeah, just
ask.
Ask, volunteer. Hey, can I help? And always help before asking for anything in return. Yeah, and put people first. I think that's one of that's our first core value, right? I found that when you put people first and you take care of people, everything else just falls into place. It just works.
Okay.
Yeah, and then like I said, look out for opportunities in the school. As much as doing stuff within the school is great, do stuff outside of school as well. Right? I mean, school has a whole bunch of activities inside, but the point about entrepreneurship and startups is that it's always done outside of school as well.
And if you just stay inside and then you're restricting yourself to a whole wider
I wouldn't say
scope.
Restricting myself, but I would say that it's a different scale of things. I mean, if you're in a school CCA and you start your company within the school, that's just a microcosm, right? But eventually, if you're being serious about starting something new that could possibly go global, you should look at outside as well, outside of school, and look at ecosystems in other schools. The different schools should talk and communicate and collaborate with each other. Yeah. So do stuff outside of schools, volunteer, ask, and one of my favorites is it is easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. Really, just go out there and get stuff done.
Don't be scared to.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people think that being young works against them. I think that it's kind of weird because being young works for me all the time. If you know your shit and you don't if you're doing something and you don't if you can present yourself well and you don't act like an idiot, even though you're young, people would respect that. And a lot of people say hey, I'm young, I don't know this.
It's just a matter of time before people actually.
You've got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to keep saying that, I'm young, I can't do this, I can't do that,
then
you're likely not going to do anything, right? And that's why I say it's easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. I mean, if you go out there and you screw up, you're young, so what? I mean, you're young, okay, cool, I screwed up, fine.
Is that a quote that I can quote to you with?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't
from
really my
anywhere
quote. No,
whatsoever?
it's from all over the place. Specific mantras in the startup and entrepreneurship community include stuff like keep shipping, right? Break things fast, build things faster. And it's easier to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. But I think that's what I do with my team as well.
That, yeah.
I think inaction should be punished and failure should be rewarded,
Mhm.
because it is better you go out there and try, you learn something,
Mhm.
as compared to just sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
Lots of people are good about talking, about planning to do stuff, and not
Uh-huh.
actually doing stuff. But the whole point about startups and entrepreneurship is that you have to do stuff.
Mhm.
If not, you're dead. Yeah.
Not you're as good as not.
Then yeah.
Like-
So you gotta go out there and do stuff. Yeah, get shit done. Yeah.
Okay, get shit done. Let's end that with that. Get shit done.
Get stuff done.
Get
Yeah,
stuff done.
Yeah.
Okay, alright. I guess we've come to the end of the interview. Thanks, Rusydi, for being with us here today. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright.